Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. I'm your host, Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center, and I've had the privilege now for nearly 3 decades of working with accounting professionals to help them start and build successful accounting, bookkeeping, and tax businesses. It's here on the show that we actually dive into things related to marketing, selling, pricing, training your staff, onboarding your clients, retaining your clients, mental health, and so many other things. It's here where we actually bring on the experts to share with us as guests those insights that they would like to contribute to the discussion of what it is you should be doing to have the premier accounting firm offering quality services and getting paid what you're worth. Now, here on the show, I do bring on these guests because there's topics that interest me, but more importantly, should interest you. And so what we're going to be doing today is I have Chris Miller. Chris happens to be the vice president at NetGain Solutions. Chris has a deep finance and accounting experience with 17 years in the software services and healthcare industries. He's a certified public accountant and a certified management accountant, PMP, and received his master's degree at the University of Colorado in Boulder. So, Chris, welcome to the show.
Roger, thank you for having me. I appreciate that, and I'm really looking forward to this.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm equally as interested, but I'm going to start with a little bit of background here on you. Give us an idea of what drew you to the accounting profession to begin with, to even become a CPA. Why become a CPA?
Sure. My beginnings in accounting were probably not very not indicative of maybe how much time or I would find myself loving the industry. I took a few years off to do some service work. And when I returned, I came to see my best friends, and I thought that I was going to be an engineer in life. And they were studying at a school well known for engineering, but they hated their lives so badly that I looked at that and said, maybe that's not for me. But I loved numbers, and I loved the ability, and I wanted to be in business. And so next thing I knew, I found myself studying accounting, and I kind of dipped into it. But more importantly, I found that I absolutely loved accounting, which is, I know, somewhat of a strange thing. But from there, I really dived into it and found myself liking it. I ended up working quite a bit in industry, and had really spent a lot of my life. I worked through school for a majority, and actually worked as a bookkeeper as your audience, and for the family business, and I got a great experience on it, and decided that's kind of what I wanted to do for a living. My real focus, I spent less time in public accounting than most. I have spent most of my time in industry, and then, of course, as I moved to software. So I would consider myself a somewhat more of focused on how do we make accounting operational and work for people to run a business. And that's really been the thing that I love. And then when I joined the dark side of the software world and making accounting software, I found my true niche, where I often tease people. I have the world's greatest job. I get to talk about accounting all day, but I don't have to stay up late at night closing the books and do accounting. So, but love being able to talk about it.
Well, first of all, it is a great profession, so I'm glad you're in it. But regarding your journey in it, I think that's quite interesting to come back and actually, with your engineer friends, realize you like numbers, but maybe engineering's not the ticket. And so to change your focus and actually go the accounting route, good job on that. I do think that there are a number of people that, as they share their stories, they share a similar experience where they go into college not clear on what it is they're going to do, and eventually find that numbers and accounting resonate with them, and they choose that as the profession, and obviously have a great journey as they go through their careers. Now, as it relates to you, though, even though with you having the bookkeeping experience that you mentioned, you're more in that software space right now with NetGear, obviously working with accounting professionals. So I want to have some software related conversations. And one of the things that I want to start with is the evolution of the software. Clearly, we're both old enough to remember where it was journals and ledgers, and then obviously brought in the computers. You've got in the 90s, the software being brought to the market. But eventually it went from loading it on your computer and having it there to cloud-based accounting. And all of a sudden we started to get these plugins that complemented the various GL platforms that we have and kind of made a little bit more robust the complementary software programs, QuickBooks having now a payroll platform and so forth. But the thing I want to talk about eventually is then the AI next evolution of this, because it went from the software to the cloud. Now we're seeing AI. So what would you add to that evolution that I just shared as we moved from paper or moved into a paperless environment and now we're on the cloud and so forth?
Yeah, great question, Roger. And I actually, from prior to being in NetGain, I was at Netsuite. I ran the Finance Center of Excellence there, and my role was really to do exactly this. How do we go? How do we push NetSuite, into that? Because when I first joined, that was at the time when the cloud was still like a concept, a
Mm-hmm.
marketing push. Join the cloud. Now nobody would invest in a software company or even consider purchasing an on-premise software. So we kind of passed that tipping point, and now we moved on to that. I think your question is really relevant because if we go all the way back to Italy, we're back in Genoa, accounting has not really changed that much from doing the double entry back with the ledger book. And as software came, we started out, and the idea was, how do we digitize and get out of the paper, get the computations, and we've done that. Then as we started to move to the cloud, we transferred that. But two kind of real fundamental things have started to change that I think are going to kind of alter how we did it. In the old days, when I say the really old days, when I first started did that, the way you were a valuable accountant was the guy who could stay up all night, grind out journal entries, and was very much like, and I'm about ticking and tying and finding this last little detail in the paper, and you had to be very much like that. But then as we started to see software come in, it changes now, especially in cloud where you have this thing, is now the system can do so much more. It's not just an electronic ledger, a green sheet, but the software now is actually intervening and able to do a lot of the processes. So when you look at EBS or early NetSuite or Dynamics or any of that, now these became really assisted as part of these accounting suites. And what happened now is two things. Technologically, the holdup that used to be for accounting systems was the cost of disk space and processing power. And so the old systems that you used in order to save disk space, because it was very expensive, always wanted to have a very thin general ledger. Let's not put all the detail in. We got to keep it off, and for processing power. Well, now as it moved to the cloud, you can put everything into the general ledger. We create these incredibly super detailed. And so the whole idea of business intelligence used to be, go grab everything from here, and then, but instead as a cog came in, we could just literally put everything inside of the accounting system, and it becomes truly that hub of information. And so what transformed for an accountant is it no longer did you want to be the guy who could stay up all night and grind out journal entries. In fact, we kind of were like, wow, that guy's a dinosaur, and you don't want to be that. The skill that you had to have was being able to master the system. Do you understand how the ERP system is put together? Can you design the chart of accounts? Can you design the workflows to help your team be more productive? And what the AI era is doing now to us with this is now we need a third skill on top of that. You had to start out and know your accounting, you had to grind out the journal entries. Then you had to know the system, but you still had to know the accounting. Now what you got to do is how the skill of the future is going to be, how do I organize my digital assistants, my digital army of AI to orchestrate what is happening inside of the system to do the journal entries that we do. So it's your ability to work through the AI and your digital assistants to accomplish the accounting in the system to get the journal entries done is going to be ultimately how things are going to change. I grew up, I've studied a lot, been working on our AI strategy. And I have to admit, Roger, I used to think that what I would do is create this big all-knowing AI, like a digital Chris Miller that could do all things. Instead, what I've learned, and really as we get into production, the AI is really going to be a digital Chris cut into like 100 little slivers. And each sliver of an AI agent is going to be good at doing one distinct thing very well. And my ability to organize and orchestrate my slivers, my distinct agents into the system is going to be what is really going to be important for accountants to the future to be able to do that. And so that's kind of, if I was to give, how do I see that happening? that's gonna be what we're gonna start seeing is how do I start using agents to do this? How do I start asking my software vendors to be agent friendly so that I can automate these different processes? And that's to me, that's really where I think the future is going to go for us in the profession.
I love your explanation. I'm just going to kind of summarize a little bit. You're
Yeah,
right. Accounting hasn't changed. From Farluca Pacioli back in the early Middle Ages, you're not
yeah,
looking at anything changing from double entry accounting. Debits are debits, credits are credits. What has changed is we're no longer using the abacus, for example. We're actually now using, not even calculators for that matter, we're actually using these software applications. And now, because of the AI, you brought up workflows. We're very big as accounting professionals on processes, the procedure of doing things, the steps involved. And what we're doing is we're taking the AI and we're automating then those workflows. And what we need to become very good at is understanding the steps that are involved in those workflows, because as they break or as they need to be integrated, we're going to be the ones doing it. So we're not so much going to be involved with the actual recording of the entries. We're going to be involved in the workflows as to how those get recorded. And I think that's one of the things that's going to be very important as we evolve as a profession. We're still going to have to know the accounting model, the debits and credits, and we're going to have to take these different AIs and have them do their various processes for us. But the thing that you also mentioned, and I want to point this out to my listeners, it's not a single all-encompassing AI accounting bot. It's actually a whole sliver of these doing very specific processes very well. And we're actually going in and refining those workflows, and more importantly, connecting them all, integrating them all so that they're working together harmoniously. Wouldn't you agree with that?
100%, Roger. It's a lot like in your book, you talk about W. Edwards Deming, and he mentions
Mm,
the wisdom triangle. And down here we have data, and at the pinnacle of the triangle is wisdom. And
yes.
the way the AI is going to be incredible at data, information, and perhaps even knowledge, but it does not have the wisdom. And that is really where, as accountants, we need to start thinking about how do we develop this wisdom to guide that, because AI can get very overwhelming when you think, oh my gosh, but when you stop and think, okay, what I need to do is treat AI as the most eager, smart, willing to help junior accountant I've ever had on my staff, but they're also overeager. So I have to tell them, I have to give them the guide rails, and I have to teach them what I want to do. And that requires the wisdom that is developed in that. And so that's when we look at the end of everything, that is really where we need to be as an industry, is not be like worried, oh my gosh, someone's going to take away my data entry job and I'll do that. But we need to elevate and say, we're about providing wisdom, and that wisdom might come from our human employees, but it's also going to come, we want to provide it to our digital employees so that they can do what we want them to do.
Yeah, AI has this unfortunate thing that I know has not yet been resolved, and it's the inclination that it has to do what's called hallucinate.
Yeah.
Because it's been asked a question, it will provide an answer. And oftentimes, if it can't find the answer, it will make it up. And so, from an accounting perspective, you're right. Using Deming's wisdom pyramid, you've got to the point where wisdom is still why, as an accounting profession, we're so relevant. We can determine, has this number or process passed the smell test? Is it accurate? And that's one of the things that the AI, just like anyone else, it's going to try and put its best foot forward and try. But at the end of the day, we have to be the ones to determine, did it do it, and did it do it accurately? So your explanation there was spot on. I completely agree with it.
The turnkey marketing and sales process to getting accounting clients with confidence. The Universal CRM is in fact a tool designed for accounting professionals to help them automate the process to the point of not only finding potentially new clients, but having meetings and getting new engagements to retain them as clients. This process is made up of using specific tools such as CRMs, email marketing, text messaging, sales pipelines, forms and funnels, as well as reputation management and social proof, getting the testimonials that you need online to substantiate your skills and services. All of these tools and technologies are leveraged to your benefit using the Universal CRM. Go to the episode description and there get the information you need to take advantage of this today.
So now the question becomes, here's all this wonderful technology. The AI is there for us to actually use it and leverage it so that we can become more efficient with our work. But the challenge is so many of us, especially those of us who are perhaps older, are reluctant to embrace the technology. We're slow to adopt this new technology. And we were talking earlier in the show that you even have a colleague that's kind of the litmus test to say, if he's going to adopt it, then we know we've done something right. So what would you say to those who are slow adopters of this?
Sure. Roger, I think there are three things that I would say that, because luckily in my career, I've always been asked to be like, hey, you go be the tip of the spear, Chris, and figure this out. And sometimes I'm not quite as good at like, well, how do I make this usable for everybody else? But now as I've gone enough far of it, I can really see the first thing that I would tell everybody is that AI is not a fad. There's a lot of hype going around, and you can see. And I'll give you a good example. We've spent a tremendous amount of money trying to build a support bot where someone asks basic questions, and the thing, just as you mentioned, Roger, it hallucinates, it creates all sorts of wild answers, and getting it to retrieve the right information and respond back is no easy feat. And so then there's a lot of hype around, well, the magic AI bot that can do this. And so it's easy to dismiss AI as, well, that's kind of cool if I want to write a few poems and have it make a funny limerick about accounting, but I'm not going to use it on my day to day. That is, I think that's very short sighted, because when you do that is you're making the assumption again that AI is going to be a complete person and do that. And instead, what you want to do is start really decomposing, just as you mentioned, your workflows and your processes, and being like, what could I insert an agent or an AI or an automation in to do this one particular piece? So for example, grabbing the dreaded PBC list and saying, hey, how do we manage communication and bring those things in? This is a great thing for AI. You can essentially set, hey, we need to have these things in, and we're going to set AI to do follow-up, or to read and give me a summary of the various documents. It leaves a lot of when you start thinking of now, what is a job I could hire AI to do in these jobs? Suddenly, now it's very relevant, and what you can do. And more importantly, I think a lot of your customers, as accountants, our clients, are going to start expecting that. As I've spent a lot of time, this is probably not such a bold prediction, but just looking at like the vision and recognition on AI, where they've been training. But they find that AI now is able to find cancer better on radiological images. Do that. Now, it seems crazy right now, but 5 years from now, it may be malpractice if a radiologist does not run those X-rays and MRIs across an AI to see what he missed. And our industry will be very similar, I think. Where AI right now is like out, but I think there will come a point where, again, it's the wisdom. We will want AI to be like, look at this, look for patterns that I can't see to match them up and do that.
Well, one of the things I was just going to interject there is I do feel that with technology, you are going to see an interconnection of basically business to business transactions. And, people will bring up with this like blockchain technology. You don't want to be the weak link or the broken link in that chain. And so that's one of the things that I think you're speaking to, is the fact that the more and more we see the integration of technology into the process, you don't want to be the one that goes analog and breaks that. So that's kind of what you're talking about. So let's go to number two, though.
Number two, I think, is a mindset that every profession suffers from. I read this book a long time ago called The Tyranny of the Professions, and it really opened my mind when I was at NetSuite. And it was about essentially how all of us, doctors, lawyers, all of us in the professions, that many times what we want to do is keep a wall around our knowledge, because let's face it, in many ways, what we are selling and providing value is this knowledge. And again, it goes back to that pyramid. We're at the third level. What AI is doing is that knowledge now is going to be ubiquitous. there is no knowledge wall here very shortly. And whether you're a lawyer looking for legal precedent, whether you're an accountant looking for, give me an evaluation on this tax reg, or, any of the other professions that we have, a doctor making a diagnosis, knowledge is now going to be very well diffused. And so AI becomes something I would tell everybody going in is start building on the assumption that that knowledge can be shared, knowledge can be gained. You can do that, and start building on how you use application of knowledge. And again, it all comes back to that idea of wisdom. We need to start. If you're hesitant about AI, start looking at like a lot of things that and a lot of practice to consider: the filling out of returns, the gathering of data. A lot of that, the AI will be able to do better than us, but because it will understand the knowledge. And that's to me, it's taken me a while to kind of realize that, but it has implications across all of the things that we have. Like we may be looking at a different personality or even a different educational profile with AI coming in, because again, the guardrails has always been protecting the knowledge and saying quality, but that is now going to be delegated to the AI eventually. And it will be, how well can I access, how can I use my creativity? How can I, apply this knowledge to the unique situations?
So before you go to number 3, I want to add to that this whole idea of knowledge. You're right, with the wisdom pyramid, that third stage is knowledge, taking the information that we have, looking at the reports. Therefore, what does it mean? One of the things that's very valuable about the accounting profession is we, through our experience and education, have a perspective, a unique understanding of the accounting language. It's the language of business. And so we're bringing to the business experience our perspective, and that's one of the things that's valuable, and we're paid for, especially as accounting advisors, CFO type individuals. But the valuable thing that AI can bring to this is your example of the individual looking at an X-ray and perhaps missing something, to say that's malpractice because the AI may have observed this something. The same would be true of the accounting profession. If we're able to actually now have that additional insight that the AI can bring to let's say the financial reports, what does it notice? What are the things that are standing out to it that we should be bringing to the attention of the business owner? That helps empower us to bring a better, more cohesive story to the owner and help them make more intelligent business decisions as they're running their companies. So it is a tool for us. It's an educated co-partner, if you will, as to the assessment of what we're actually working on. That's one of the things we're going to want to be leveraging. Now, there's a lot to be said about that, so I don't want to go too deep with it. But so let's go to number 3, though.
The third thing, if I'm really looking at, what do I want to do to be able to adopt this or think about it, is I would look for real tangible use cases that we have. When I was first starting this, you can see a few things, but it takes actual use cases in accounting kind of evaded me for a little bit, in the sense that what everyone really wants is a digital bookkeeper. I hand you a piece of paper, it codes it, provides all those things. And again, that's we've kind of talked about. So there you get lost in the hype. But where I would go if I was looking for accounting is be like, how I need some real tangible places I can do. And you mentioned what I think is the very first one. AI at its heart is a pattern recognition machine.
Mm-hmm.
And it sees patterns that we can't. And even the LLMs are really nothing but a statistical model algorithm responding in language based on numbers and linear algebra. So that to me, I think, is a great place to start, is how do we run the data by, I have these transactions, I have that, show me some insights, and start to bring that in. And then you can determine which ones are actionable, which ones are valuable, but you will be able to find things that you would have never seen before. And it really starts to enable that. So you can start small in AI is what I think is probably the short message I want to give to everybody out there. Don't start with like, we need a full AI marketing system and I need an AI agent to do all my outbound and I need this. Start small and be like, how can we create tables and look at our clients' financial statements and provide that? One of the most used facets of, one of our products that we have is we do flux analysis, and we do exactly this. We use retrieval. We use a RAG for the data. We supply it, and then actually have the AI come back and give us some context on variance analysis and flux within the close. Now, you probably, because we've all been there, and this is probably one that everyone can relate to. We've all been there at 1 a.m. when you're having to write variances, and you've gotten down to the point of like, it's different this month because we spent more money. And that is literally the best you can come up with, is the difference. Well, the AI doesn't get tired, and it looks and with the same enthusiasm will give you these fluxes. And then you can go in and evaluate, well, this is useful, this isn't, this is, that. But it starts you at 80-90% of the way there, and then you can refine the analysis and do that. And so if you start small, start at where it's really good at analytics and finding patterns in the data, you can start to provide your clients a lot of value and start adopting AI as a mindset, so that it becomes really becomes part of what your firm is. I think a lot of software companies, and by extension, a lot of firms, are going to have to rethink fundamentally how they do this. And some I think will be successful, and some I think will not. And it's going to provide a real opportunity of disruption where new firms, new software companies for that matter, are going to come that are really AI native and comfortable with these new processes. And they will thrive in this new world as they pick that up. And so the ability to bring this in is really critical, I think, for you in the next 5 years.
Yeah, one of the things that I'd like to add to what you just shared is really two things. One is when you're using the AI, it's like having an intelligent conversation with another individual. And so it will provide a great deal of insight. But at the end of the day, you're the one that works with the client. You're the client facing individual. So you're going to have to basically take what you're receiving from the AI and figure out what matters most that you're going to communicate to the client. So that was very important there. But the second thing that I'd like to really stress for my listeners is the fact that so many of them are intimidated to believe that they have to go pick an AI platform, learn how to write prompts, figure out how to actually upload data, and figure out how to actually work with this other individual, if you will, the AI being this person that you're trying to communicate with through the prompts. And where I push back is I think it's a far easier process, because what's happening is a lot of the platforms that we use as accounting professionals, they're looking to integrate into their own platforms for us, the AI tool, so that we can just continue to use the same platforms that we're already paying for and already using in our business. And they are now going to have these AI interfaces where we're going to now be able to tap into AI, and it will provide us insights, perspectives, actionable things that we didn't have before, still paying for the service that we already have. So
Yeah.
I don't feel we have to become coders. We're not going to have to, as accounting professionals, figure out how to do the heavy lift on this. The services we're already paying for are going to build into them, into themselves, the AI, and they're going to put the protections in place so that it's a closed environment, that the platform is keeping our information proprietary and so forth. Therefore, those concerns aren't things we have to worry ourselves with. We're able to trust that the platforms we're utilizing, they have the experts, people like yourself, bringing in the AI platform to the software systems that we're already using. Would you agree with that?
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I spend a lot of time with Oracle, and so both, here, and I can tell you, just as a consumer of that and working in the Oracle ecosystem, that is at the forefront of what they want to be able to do, is bring AI. And this isn't a pitch for Oracle. Everybody's doing that, but by extension, AI really is, it needs to be tailored for who wants to be the consumer of the information.
Yeah.
In accountants, we really look at AI and how does it help us book a transaction or do something. We're looking for this production based AI. But if we step into like the executive level, C-suite, and some of the managerial, we're looking for AI to really provide us insight that we might not see, summarize these things, look for trends, find patterns. And those pieces, you're exactly right. Anywhere where the data is being stored in an ERP system, they want to put the AI as close to those source transactions as possible, so they can have as much of the metadata and everything going around so that they can understand. And I would agree with you. I have stepped my foot into the coding world. I've never been any good at it. It's just one of those things I've never been able to do, even though I have tried to. And so I don't think you have to do that either. And like I use myself as an example. What I have learned has not been because I've suddenly learned how to write APIs and now I can go JavaScript my own things. It's understanding that what information does it need to do? How do I get in the right context? How do I do that? And then everybody wants to figure out how to make this easier for you to use, behind the scenes, and be like, hey, let's give you a very simple, I want to know these answers or these data, and it can go for it. And I think the reason why, if I could, is again, when Satya talked about, agents, AI doing everything, and that, basically most apps were just a CRUD database with a UI wrapper around it, he was 100% right. But what people took from that, and what I would want the audience to think, is that there's not going to be like where you don't have software and then you just ask, digital Chris to produce financial statements. What AI is going to do is you're going to talk to the AI, and its language is code, and it's going to go and access the software to build the journal entries and do all the things. Like, you may find that you don't need to buy a super expensive SAP deployment. You may suddenly be like, just a basic general ledger is fine because all of this stuff the AI can do, but I still need a place to store it and where it's going to go. And that's not going away. And so because of that, good AI is essentially going to access code in these software platforms to do it. They have every incentive in the world to make it as easy for you as possible to really get AI advantages inside the software. And quite frankly, you get a lot of leverage from that too, because we don't want people having to feel like they got to go around and code their own new app left and right. Again, a lot of the power of this is going to be in the standardization and the organization, the ability to take unstructured data and turn it into structured data, take your structured data and enhance it with unstructured data from all sorts of different places, is really what is going to give people the advantages. And our profession in accounting, if we're open to it and say, hey, look, I care about a lot more than just what hits the financial statements. I'm going to start thinking about sales data and these, but how do I bring it in? The future is tremendously bright to do that and to be the caretakers of that knowledge and turn it into wisdom.
Get your free copy of the book In the Black, 9 Principles to Make Your Business Profitable. This is a how-to guide for accounting professionals to work with their clients and actually implement proven processes and systems to ensure that their clients make profit a priority. It is in this book you'll actually learn how to map the business and, in fact, make marketing, accounting, and production a priority within your client's business. You also learn the wisdom pyramid, how to actually take the information you're providing to your clients and effectively use it so that they can make more informed business decisions. This book is designed to help you communicate more effectively with your clients and, in fact, have them see you as their profit and growth expert. Get your free copy now of the ebook today, In the Black, 9 Principles to Make Your Business Profitable.
Now, time's running short on us, but I'd like to actually talk about NetGain Solutions and figure out, for the accounting professional, what should they understand and know how NetGain is actually helping in this space. How is this actually relevant to the accounting professional?
Yeah, and I would say there's a couple ways that we do, and I appreciate the opportunity to do that, Roger. We were founded, our vision is twofold. The first thing we want to do is make accounting easier. Like, we kind of look at our profession, and by way of my virtue of NetSuite in my existence, accountants, when I would go into a really large enterprise deal, and this is somewhat of our professions, I would say that you would see the head of sales, and they would bang their fist on the table and be like, "You want me to make my number? I need Salesforce." You'd have the head of HR. You don't want to get sued? You got to get me Workday. And then you come in and be like, talk to the controller and the accounting team, and he'd be like, "You want me to do that? I can make anything work. Whatever, I'll do it in Excel if it doesn't do it in the system." And so because of that, the quality of tools out there for accounting has not kept up with the quality of tools that are out there for everything else. And so our founding, we kind of were birthed out of our experience with NetSuite, and started out really wanting to be like, how do we make the things that we wish we had or wish we could have done? Now we're going to build those, and that has since grown to, we have a practice, a software practice that we really focus on the public accounting and how to do that. And there are a couple of pieces that we've seen. One is, everybody is desperate for software that just works. I cannot tell you how much, as we talk about this, without mentioning any names, fixed asset software, as we've been building when we released ours and have been talking to people, we essentially get, I don't care if yours is more expensive, and I don't care if the other people give it to us for free. We're just sick of working in this type of UI experience for any longer. And that, while great for a software vendor like ourselves, that's not good for our industry, that we're not pushing innovation and demanding more. And so that is our first thing, is we really want to create a great user experience and take what we learned from this, because a great user experience translates into more productivity, better clarity. And again, because of AI, when you start thinking about it, a lot of these Byzantine processes that we do in other systems, we want to be able to streamline and eliminate those. The second thing is that accounting teams, they are often inundated. Every podcast, every webinar, everything, we talk about, how do we get up to this level of wisdom? I talk about it all the time. But the truth is, because of the systems that are out there, most of us in industry and public accounting are buried still down into data entry. You would be amazed at how many CSV files are getting passed between different systems and double entry. And so our goal is really to eliminate that. For example, one thing that we do is, we figured out, we believe very strongly in like a full multi-tenant approach. And so the auditor, an example of our leasing product, and their clients, they can actually, the same system, it's in the same database, but they can audit and do their operational accounting at the client in the same one. And so the client maintains complete control over which audit firm they allow to see their data and can do that. They get real-time updates, but then the user now it does all of their lease accounting, and in essence, it now is saving, your work papers are automatically generated, all of that stuff comes through. And I think these are the kinds of things that we can do in software to make accountants' lives better, and not make it the frustration.
I appreciate that. I'm curious, do you have to be a NetSuite user to benefit from NetGain, or is NetGain autonomous?
We're autonomous, actually.
Okay,
So
good. Good.
we have both, and often, sometimes I find myself, just from my background being so close, almost doing that. But we have a practice of apps built in NetSuite, and then we have a practice of things are alone. I will say this: the reason where they can be related is that our work inside of NetSuite is a tremendous proving ground. Basically, we get a full mature product, we do all that, then we bring it outside and make it available. So when we have released our products outside of NetSuite available for everybody, they're not like MVPs, but we have battle tested them with all of the use cases prior to that. So we're able to bring it to market much faster and meet the custom needs of the accounting firms.
I like that. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap this up. And as I wrap it up, I want to just point out that I'm going to come back to you, Chris, for a closing thought. But to wrap this up, Chris has been very kind to give everyone here listening today an opportunity to learn more about NetGain. And I would encourage you to go to the episode description and there get the information you need to see more what this might actually be for your firm and how you could leverage this to actually help with the production side of things, to make sure you're more efficient and profitable with the work that you're doing. So definitely take a moment, check out the episode description, and more importantly, see what it is that NetGain can offer you. As it relates to to this, I'd also like to point out that you can go to universalaccounting.com, and there in the navigation, find the free resources where you can get a free copy of the book In the Black. In the Black is the book that we've been discussing here today, where we're talking about the wisdom pyramid and what those things are as it relates to your firm. So definitely go and get a free copy of it. It's also in the episode description, information regarding the book In the Black. As a summary of the call, I really enjoyed the fact that we started our conversation with Chris's background as to how he became a CPA and quickly evolved into the accounting model and its evolution over the years, from just being that of double entry accounting back in the day to going into a paperless environment, going on the cloud. And then we clearly were able to address how AI is going to impact the accounting profession. I agree with Chris. It's one of those things that we're not going to be able to avoid. We need to embrace, and more importantly, need to just answer the question of how we're going to utilize it to actually be more relevant to our clients. It is that tool that if we use it right, it'll actually assist us in being those advisors, that CFO advisor that we need to be for our business clients. So I thought that was a really good part of the conversation. And then we also just talked about how it's relevant in today's world. It is something that is going to become more and more integrated. It's not going to be something that is perhaps being done. Accounting is going to be this digital experience that we need to be familiar with as accounting professionals. So, Chris, what would you like to leave as a closing thought?
Wow. First, Roger, thank you for your time. I incredibly grateful for this opportunity to talk about these things. I get excited about them, and I believe that the future of accounting is incredibly bright. And so, getting to talk about where we're going to go. The main thought, if I were to say, what would I want someone to take away from this, is really, don't be afraid of AI. It's an opportunity. It is very easy for people in the professions, as I've talked to other ones and see, to be like, AI is going to come and take our jobs and eliminate us. It's not. It's going to be like the Industrial Revolution. It's going to be like the internet. It's going to create so many more opportunities. However, the way we add value as an accounting industry is going to rapidly change, and we need to be able to do that. It's not going, just like I said earlier, in the days of I can grind out journal entries late at night was my value, then it was the system. Now it is, can I really understand my processes, optimize them, make them visible, and then train the AI to be able to engage in these? And if you are able to do that and pick up those skills, the opportunity as an accountant is unlimited. I really think the world is going to look to our industry as the stewards often of what's accurate, what's true, to also be able to put on these guardrails and really understand a lot of how this AI is going to work.
Well said, Chris. I couldn't agree with you more. I think we have a promising future ahead of us for the accounting profession. So I agree with you. So for my listeners, if you haven't already subscribed, definitely subscribe to the podcast. Love to have you actually listening to us each and every week when we have the experts on the show to help us understand what we need to be doing to be on the cutting edge and thrive as accounting professionals. I also want to invite you to go to universalaccounting.com and there find additional free resources that you can utilize in your firm to, in fact, have the premier accounting firm in your area. And likewise, check out GrowCon. GrowCon is an annual event for owners of accounting, bookkeeping, and tax businesses. It's there that you want to register and join us for this conference so that you can actually be with your peers and see what it is you can be doing to thrive in your accounting business. Lastly, I do want to mention this. If you've enjoyed this podcast, subscribe and go back and also listen to the past episodes. We have a number of great episodes that you want to binge listen as we cover a variety of topics that are relevant to your situation. If you'd like more information regarding this or other topics that we cover, definitely go to universalaccountingschool.com or give us a phone call. You can reach us at 801-265-3777. And always remember this, if it's about accounting, it is universal. Take care and have a great day.